Hi everyone, this is Alex, and today we are bringing you guys a guide on the SPYRAL Abyss. This guide will help you understand the basics of the Abyss and will also help you progress through each of the floors. Before tackling the SPYRAL Abyss floor, there are a few things that you should look into. Team compositions. The first important thing you should know about the SPYRAL Abyss is that you will need to optimize your teams by analyzing what enemies you will be facing across each of the chambers for both teams. From there, make sure to adapt your team composition logically in order to maximize your chances of dealing effectively against elemental shields and any types of enemies that could use any specific tactic. For example, if you are facing a Frost Abyss mage on the second half of the second chamber, consider having a fire character on the second team. You may also want to avoid having a healer using the water element to avoid being frozen. Countering elements is one of the most important things you can do in the SPYRAL Abyss to increase your overall chances of success. Leyline disorders. The next important thing is to read and understand the leyline disorders of the floors you will be attempting. These provide important buffs to your team while on the specific floor and will also have a drastic impact on your overall performance, assuming you understand the effects and use them as best as possible. Some floors may have leyline disorders that are going to increase specific elemental reaction damage, boost critical damage, cause your overall damage to be increased by the number of elemental bursts used, and so on. Taking the time to read and understand the leyline will increase your chances of success in the SPYRAL Abyss. Blessing of the Abyssal Moon. The next important thing is the global buff effect provided by the SPYRAL Abyss. The game refers to this effect as the Blessing of the Abyssal Moon. It is a powerful aura if used properly. The Blessing of the Abyssal Moon effect changes every month. Sometimes the Abyss will provide an offensive buff, sometimes it's going to be a defensive buff. You can check what the buff is by clicking on the Blessing of the Abyssal Moon at the top of the screen of the main section of the SPYRAL Abyss. Once on the floor, the effect is visually represented by a clashing aura, chamber card buffs. The fourth important detail about the SPYRAL Abyss is the card buffs that you can select at the start of every single floor chamber. The cards available on each floor change on a daily basis. Because of this, you may want to visit the Abyss every single day to check which cards are available, as this may give you the edge you need to beat some of the floors. You will also want to almost always choose a card buff that affects the entire floor, and finally on the final chamber, the third chamber, you can choose a chamber card buff instead. Choosing cards that affect the whole floor instead of choosing cards that affect only a specific chamber will ensure that you have as much value as possible, and this detail is obviously not important for the last chamber of the floor. I personally really like card buffs that increase elemental burst damage and elemental abilities. Kill order. Now, how to beat challenging SPYRAL Abyss floors? One of the most important things to apply when facing hard SPYRAL Abyss floors is to establish a kill order. There's usually two types of kill order that you want to apply depending on the situation. The first type of kill order is based on survival. You usually want to always kill any weak enemies first, as they often die very fast, and even though new enemies will spawn, eventually you will be left alone with the larger threats. Assuming you can reduce the number of enemies, it should make the overall fight easier. Do your best to still do some AoE damage and prioritizing key targets to maximize your damage potential. In a room with one Abyss Mage, one Shaman, 5 Illy Curls, and 2 Big Slime, I would personally kill the Shaman first, followed by the 5 Illy Curls, the Abyss Mage next, assuming you have the proper element to destroy the shield, and then the 2 Slimes. The second type of kill order is when you don't really care about your survival, but have a very hard timer to respect. In these cases, you usually want to focus the harder enemies first, and while doing so, you maximize the amount of AoE you do to weaken or kill easier enemies in the same process. When drastically limited by time, you often have to take big risks in order to maximize your overall DPS. If in the process of killing that hard enemy, you end up killing 5 of the weaker enemies without actively focusing on them, it's a win-win situation when focusing on this type of kill order. Imagine a fight against a Rune Guard and 10 Illy Curls. You would want to maximize the damage against the Rune Guard, as they take a long time to defeat because of their high physical defense. In the process of killing the Rune Guard, most Illy Curl would most likely end up dying by cleave attacks and general AoE from elemental bursts. Alright guys, we hope that the content of this video was useful. Please consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video. Feel free to join our Discord if you have any questions. You can also post directly in the comment section if you want to. We do our best to read and reply to every single comments. Thanks again for watching guys, and have a good one.